Hi, I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. The beam on this vise is dented on both sides. Now, Scott Crafter discovered that his wobbled if he didn't have the damage to the beam. And this one's got a wobble too. Nowhere near as severe as Scott Crafter's. And the other thing I'm finding is the damage to the beam would only stop wobble from here in, which is really worthless. If I was gonna damage the beam to make the whole thing tighter, I think I'd peen the whole edge down. So it's possible that they did that at the factory. I mean, I've seen worse fixes. But anybody that spent the time to make a really nice setup like the cotter pin and washer setup, which is much better than this E-ring and washer setup, which is very wobbly. And the even worse setup on this American scale company, which involved sliding the washer on and then taking a chisel and knocking two big curls up in the shaft that locked the lock washer on this side of it. A very less than satisfactory setup. I can't see them doing something that nobody else does, and these are inexpensive vices. They're all little tiny inexpensive vices with the same flaws. They all have the threads in the casting, and they're just not really good vices. This vise is actually one of the better ones because it has a protected thread on the screw. This one has a protected screw with a washer and a roll pin locking the thread in, which gives it a very nice action. I mean, very good travel. The frame is well done. This is a Power Craft. American Scale Company. with the horrible chip. And then there's this one, which is a 4-inch number 5177. No name. Made in Japan. Very small beam. Replaceable jaws. I think this is from a later time. It has the cast-in pipe jaws. And it's a nice working little vise. Needs to have a bolt to lock it down. So looking at all these other ones and all the different ways that they lock things down, from the terribly crude to the nicest of the bunch as far as protecting the screw. This little American scale vise came from George Hooper. But it does have an awful lot of wobble in it. I would like to remove the wobble, but I don't see a practical method to make that happen. It does line up and the jaws fit when you run the screw into them. I think I'm going to go back with the washer and the cotter pin, just like it was originally. One of the things I liked about this one is the straight beam. Having to straighten the beam is a real pain. I have a hydraulic press out in the garage. It's not a Dake. It's a Harbor Freight cheapie, but it does the job. This little American Scale Company vise needs to have the beam straightened badly. So we're going to assemble this thing and give it a trial fit. You notice I flipped this over. How could I tell which one was the top? The one with all the dings in it is the top. The bottom is nicely protected. Why am I worried about it? Because the holes are offset. They're closer to the bottom than they are to the top. And if I try and put it in the other way, it's not going to sit right. And that would be disappointing. Now, one of the things that I need to do is tighten the screw into this handle. When I brought it home, this handle was loose. Got some dirt in there. Nice little thing to have. tiny little wire brush that'll reach in spots and clean them out. Now I'm going to scratch up the paint on the bottom of this. I painted it because I just wanted to see it all one color. Is it a necessary thing to have that surface painted? No, because these two mating surfaces, when you spin it, they're going to take that paint right off. I don't care what you do. Now, normally I would think, oh, I want to put that bolt in. Well, I can't. This one, the way it's made, I have to spin this bolt to get this handle down to the point where it'll tighten up in half a turn. But in order to make that happen, I have to have this well, you're seeing something that I didn't notice. There's a little gap right here with enough room for that bolt to spin down. So I can put that bottom bolt in and tighten it. And then put that other locking bolt in, and it's going to line up and lock. Learn something every day. You're seeing something new here, folks. I thought that I could not tighten this bolt up unless I had this loose in order to be able to spin it. But there's a little gap right in here. It's the first time I tried to assemble this thing, and I'm now noticing that this bolt will spin in that gap. That little spot right there. You get out here, won't spin. Come back to this corner, and it will. So if you get it into that corner, it's not going to lock very easy, because it's going to want to spin. And with this thing clamped down to the bench, you might have some difficulty. You'd have to spin it back like that just a little bit, and then it'll lock up. So when we bolt it down to a bench or to a block, I'm going to want to make sure that I have this oriented so that that won't be a problem. That works. But I think I'm going to need to address this little rough spot right there because I want it to spin a little smoother than what it is. So that's a job for the Dremel. But we're doing a test fit, so we're going to go ahead and put this thing together. It goes together. I have to take care of that rough spot on the bottom. And that should do it. If you have any suggestions for a new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments. You know I read them all. Thanks for watching. This video is not to be viewed by anyone under the age of 13 in the US or 16 in the European Union, without the express written permission of the parents or legal guardians of the underage person. Such written permission must be on file at the local government entity in charge of enforcing the rules and regulations established by the FTC. Anyone violating these terms is admitting by default that they hold harmless the owners and operators of this channel. Any and all questions should be addressed to your local branch of the FTC.